always just us against them. But sometimes if you want to improve things, us got to work with them. And so, you know, that you always have to deal with that. And you're going to get criticism regardless.
So you can sleep at night.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you're not losing sleep about representing the city of Birmingham. Why do you want to represent, and why do you continue to represent? Why have you always represented people that may not understand you?
Well, you know, I mentioned earlier, having lived in a city that I was born into a segregated society, and then as this society changed, I reaped the benefit all the time, or some people were pulling.
So, being representative of the city of Birmingham.
See this city recognized well, contrary to what some people might say. We moved up in the world when we moved. A couple of years ago, I went to Loveland Village, and we had to do something about it. And as the housing authority, to tear the old Loveland, those kids who live there now, to have the same lives of people.
That's what it's in conjunction with the decisions that other people make. Your biggest struggle as far as representing.
I would say the big what it really takes to change a city, but you can't let that stop you from doing what you feel you need to do. Your power to live up to that trust. Talk about you, but you got to do it anyway.
Level where everybody can pull what they need from the land.
Well, you know what. And you made the comment, well, are you going to be like all the, yeah, once you win, you see me, and you know, it said, well, can I take a picture with you, or can I shake your hand? I said, yeah, you know, I hear myself in such a way as the mayor of the city, you know, people see me with a suit and tie on, and they're a person.
Just in time as you're doing the job.
And so, but in terms of the communication level, my mom always taught me that I was no better than somebody else, but then I also was no worse than them folks, because then that wouldn't be me. But by the same token, I recognize that sometimes that might make people think, well, you know, he's arrogant. No, I'm confident. I know what I know, but I also know there's a lot of things I don't know.
Yeah.
But the things that I know, I'm confident about it.
So with the things that you don't know, or the things that you could, you know, use some insight on, how important is the young adult voice in the city of Birmingham to what you're doing and what you've already done as mayor?
When I took over as mayor in 2010, I never will forget, I had a couple of corporate leaders telling me that they were getting ready to move their corporate headquarters to Montgomery. Others were moving out of town, and I asked them, I said, give me 24 months. Just give me 24 months to make a difference. I was walking the streets of communities like Woodlawn and Norwood, and people said, well, you know, we got abandoned houses. People are leaving. Over in the Woodlawn area, areas were drug infested, a lot of different issues. I just told people, just hold on, just hold on. And I began the process of thinking, when you go to a city, the way you judge a city, first of all, is just like when you go to somebody's house.
Okay.
If their living room is all junky and everything,
you can only imagine what bedrooms.
Exactly. And so the first thing you do is the downtown area.
Okay.
The other thing that you judge a city on is the vibrancy and the vitality. And, you know, somebody like myself, I might go out to a restaurant, have a glass of wine, a good meal, then I go home.
Okay.
But the vibrancy is with the young folks. Things that would excite young people, that things are happening. You know, when you look at the 2nd Avenue corridor down to Woodlawn, the 1st Avenue corridor around 54th, 55th Street, doesn't look like it did a couple of years ago. We're still in the process, but it's a vibrancy that young people bring to the table. That's why you see all those green bikes around here. But then you folks, what about those people who don't live in the downtown area, in Avondale? Well, you can't do everything. You have to execute that plan. And one of the things that we did, we had to develop a comprehensive plan for the city of Birmingham, because one hadn't been developed in 50 years. And that comprehensive plan was about what the people wanted to see happen. And everybody wanted a grocery store in their community. They want the grass cut on the overgrown lots. They want their streets paved. But each one of those things have money attached. Or when you have businesses moving out, they take that tax revenue with them. So you got to find a way to attract businesses in to get that tax revenue. And our city has grown by $55 million over the last 8 years. And now we're taking that money and we're starting to pave streets. Does that mean that we're gonna pave every street overnight? No, it doesn't.
There's one street that I want you to pay.
See, everybody got one street.
There's one.
Everybody got one
That I
street
want
that
to
they want to
build.
have. Exactly,
Oh my
exactly.
goodness, we'll talk about it.
And you know, potholes.
Yes.
We've developed a pothole crew that now is going around filling in potholes. So people call in and let us know where those potholes are, and we'll go and take care of them. Does that mean we know where every pothole is?
Mm-hmm.
No, that does not mean that. But we're working, and we're also trying to make city government more transparent. Technology that now you can go online and report any problems or issue that you might have. But I tell people all the time, afraid to use your name, and don't be afraid to ask the person that you're talking to their name.
Right.
Because, you know, I get people who tell me all the time, well, I called down there and they, who is they? And there's nothing I track what they've said, when they said it, in order to get it done. So that exists in the community. Now, we're starting to have people move back into the city. That whole issue about gentrification, I'm opposed to gentrification.
Let me ask you something about that. I never have notes, so this is awkward for me to even have a sheet of paper here, but I wanted to make sure that I quoted you correctly. You said safeguards to avoid displacement during growth in workforce.
Exactly.
So, the city doesn't already have a hand in them coming in.
Well, when you look at where the current growth is taking place right now, Woodlawn Court,
Right.
No one lived downtown prior to 2010. You had a couple of places here and there. Now with all these apartments that have sprung up around the baseball stadium,
Right.
nobody lived down there, so nobody's being displaced.
Mm-hmm.
The property that those residential units were built on were abandoned lots and empty houses, so
Okay.
nobody's been displaced. As growth continues to expand, that pressure is going to be put on our communities.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've devised things like our land side lot program that we can give land to people who already live there in the community, which increases their property value.
Yeah.
His problem with abandoned houses is people dying without wills.
Right.
And they don't leave the property to someone. The property goes down, we go in and knock it down, then it becomes an overlive forever,
Right.
despite what I might think.
Right.
And so we have to work to get people stabilized in the house. And what made me realize that, in 2011, grandmama died, left the house to the daughter, and the granddaughter went to get help when it comes down to city government. There's a lot of things that William Bell want to do that Mayor Bell can't do because of the law, but you can work to get laws changed. And that's what the taxes haven't been paid in over 5 years. We can get control of that property and either go back and build a house on it or give that property to the next door neighbor.
Someone put out things saying that, well, it's supposed to be this, but he didn't tell y'all this. This is a wealth of knowledge, and not development.
Mm-hmm.
So the question, I guess, generally is that the residents don't want to be forgotten in the midst of the city's growth with those particular issues. Is it?
Absolutely. Over the past 6 years, I worked very closely with EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, Tony. And we worked with her and the task force that was sent over from family members out there. So we had medical task force to come in here. Secondly, they put up monitors to monitor the air, to monitor the soil. On a voluntary basis, the property owners had to sign off to allow them to come onto the property to test the soil to see what was contaminated and what wasn't contaminated. On the dirt from over in that area, I never will forget when we found out that in part the baseball field contaminated soil had been placed out there, and we had to spend tens of thousands of dollars to get that out of there to bring good soil. So it's safe now.
Okay.
But those are the type of things that we were doing to help the citizens out there. We've also been trying to work out negotiations with some of the corporations who in the past did pollute out there, and to try to get some type of settlement, and that's still an ongoing. The office of mayor to address that, but you're dealing with the federal government as well. You talked about development in the west end, in the southwest section or the western section of Birmingham right now is the Crossplex.
Okay.
Is the Crossplex. When I came into office, money to build the Crossplex, and we went about the process of finding the money and actual build the Crossplex facility. And now, And for those people who are out there who say, I try to steal Larry Links with Thunder, no. And if you don't believe me, go ask his wife. To recognize what's going on out there, I always have Mrs. Langford come up, and I tell everybody that that was Larry Langford's idea and concept, but I had to execute it. So, but having said that, because we're now bringing people out there to the Five Points West area, the West End community and the Enfield community, they're centered around that Five Points West community. Now we're starting to bring, for example, we've got a Starbucks that's coming. That's not just a regular Starbucks. It's going to be a training facility that people from West End, Ensley, but not only that, any other retail food operation, they can be trained there. And Starbucks is also going to be making some over in that area since I don't know when. Okay. Exactly. And that's in conjunction with Baptist Hospital, because we have a lot of people who go to the hospital over there on Princeton. And they have to sit around the hospital. They don't, because there are no hotels in the area. Well, now you'll have prospects of people who come to the hospital. Well, see, and that creates activity and jobs.
Right.
Now, we spent, I forgot how many hundreds of thousands of dollars we spent to repair the bridge and built a new bridge right there on Jefferson Avenue and about 24th Street.
That's the street I want paved.
Well,
down the street.
yeah, but we also paved just about all of Jefferson. When you go on around the corner,
Jefferson is good.
Yeah, we paved all of that. And we about 2 months ago, I signed the contract with the pavers, and they will be paving a ton of streets throughout the city. But we can't pave every street at the same time. But I promise people, just hold on, it's coming.
I'm holding on.
The other thing that I want to share with people. Look at your street light. If you've got a light that's white, that's the new LED light.
Right.
And you'll notice it's a much brighter light than you've had in the past. Well, it not only improves the quality of lighting in the community, it saves us money that we now can.
As bright as it is, you can't say that you didn't see anything.
Exactly.
It's right in front of my front door, so that's why thank you. It's a big thing, because like now a lot of those properties are happening in the area. Are the fires related to the building? Is the municipal building, and what's happening in Ensley?
Let me someone going setting a fire, but someone paying someone to go and set a fire. That's all I'll say on that. But I think the area to build what's called a municipal public safety facility. That include our police department, our fire department. But in addition to that, new houses, because we're going to have a park behind all the benefits that will come.
So they won't be left out.
Exactly. And when I name those over in that area by the baseball stadium that the Crossplex has over the Five Points West area, and I bring more people to an area, the expansion of a company called Inland Sea Trucking that's hiring local people there in the Enfield area, which is a growth in the Enfield area.
That sounds good. How Birmingham is made up. Birmingham is made up of a lot of different people.
I think they all are human beings.
All human beings in this whole grand scheme of things. What would you say to individuals who don't feel like they have a place in the city?
I would tell those individuals that everyone has a place and value. Have to understand, it doesn't just rest on my shoulders to make a great. Some of it does, but it's positive to help the community. There is a group that's a prime example of what I'm saying. They call themselves the Willing Family. I every time I go somewhere and I see them out helping people, I say, yeah, that's how you make a change.
Do it.
That's how you make a difference.
Just do it.
Exactly. And sometimes I get concerned when we have an area that's flooded, and I see people come from over the mountain and other places to come and help voluntarily. They're not looking for pay. Some of our people, they say, well, how much y'all paying? Well, we got a crisis here. Just, first volunteer. And the quickest way to get a job is to volunteer for a job. Because then I've had a young man that every time we have the homeless individuals over there at the Boutwell Auditorium, he was homeless. He volunteered. I mean, he would be there working every night with the homeless people there. And then I found out he was homeless too. We gave him a job. Because he was willing to do something above and beyond what he was called on to do. And when you are willing to give, people are willing to help. And so I ask everyone, if you see something that you think needs to be changed, come up with a viable plan and then share it. Share it with the mayor, share it with other individuals, but also be willing to do the work yourself. You can't ask somebody to do something that you're not willing to do yourself.
I think it's great advice. Everybody in the room's like, so, like I said, it's just a wealth of knowledge when you can actually sit down and have a regular conversation. I know a lot of times, I guess all of the conversations are either arguments or defensive. And I never want any of us to think that that's the tone that we have to take with our neighbor. Like, you are a neighbor. So
Right.
the way I talk to my neighbors, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for moving my garbage can in. Sorry about the noise last night. You know, we're neighbors, we're family. So, last thing, anything that you want to say to the audience? You got several different audiences, so anything you want to say to them?
Well, you know, here at City Hall, we try to do everything as a team. Yes, I'm the mayor, but I'm also a co-worker, and I'm dependent upon everybody else to make City Hall and to make this city run. I often tell people I don't ride on the back of one garbage truck, I don't drive one police car, but I'm dependent on the men and women who work for the city to do their jobs. And again, I don't